Students with autism and related pervasive developmental disorders have difficulty understanding and making sense of their surroundings. As educators, we need to try to see and acknowledge the world as our students do, in order to effectively teach them. Visual supports, or visually based environmental supports, are used to assist students in organizing physical space. The supports facilitate their ability to predict activities, anticipate changes, understand expectations, and make sense of their environment. And as a result, these students are better adjusted and become active learners. This video covers the most common forms of visual supports used with students with autism: visual schedules, choice boards, boundary settings, labels, task organizers, and activity completion signals. As educators, we often make such statements as, "He knows what to do, we do it every day." We assume that because we do things on a daily basis, the students know their schedules and routines. But quite often, they don't know, and are therefore easily frustrated and distracted. A visual schedule can provide the framework for student success. Using a visual schedule has endless benefits. The first benefit is that it provides the needed structure while building upon the student's visual strength. Another benefit is that a visual schedule shows students that they must complete a less desirable activity before they can participate in a more desirable activity. For example, completing the spelling sheet before a break. This is called the Premack principle. Visual schedules explain, by example, time concepts. Students will learn to predict when activities are beginning and ending and how events are sequenced throughout the day. Visual schedules include activities that allow students some control over selecting a choice or making a decision. Gradually, this enhances their ability to understand options and allows them to choose from a great range of choices. Students with autism and related pervasive developmental disorders are often quite inflexible. By showing activities changing throughout the day, visual schedules teach students about flexibility and change while allowing them control. As students learn to work their visual schedules, they develop independence in completing tasks. A visual schedule can be incorporated into a morning calendar time to stimulate conversation about the day's upcoming activities. To create a visual schedule, it is best to break down the day into clear segments. These may mean dividing the day up by settings, by task, or by staff. We cannot, nor do we want to, put every single aspect of each day into the schedule. Select major block activities, those that are the most meaningful to the student. Give each block activity a name that will be used consistently by everyone. Some block activities may have very specific titles, such as painting. Others are broader, such as OT, which may include a variety of tasks such as the tilt board, scooter, or wearing a weighted vest. When choosing a representation system for visual schedules, certain guidelines should be followed to best meet the needs of each student. First and foremost, a visual schedule must be individualized. That is, the level of representation should fall within the student's current level of communication abilities. The visual schedule should be set up so that the student is continually moving up the hierarchy from concrete to increasingly abstract representation. Begin with the lowest level and work toward higher levels. For a given concept or activity, this includes the full-size object, miniature objects, photographs, colored drawings, black and white line drawings, written words, and written phrases or sentences. This hierarchy represents drinking. Each level is more abstract than the preceding. By pairing the current level with the next higher level, you increase opportunities for learning. Remember to start with the level that best meets the student's current ability. After dividing the day into segments and selecting a level of representation, you now need to select a format for the visual schedule. The format you choose will be based upon the answers to a series of questions. First, decide who the schedule is intended to be used by. Is it for a group or for one individual? Will the visual schedule need to indicate specific times by using clock faces, or is the sequence of activities more important than specific times? Once you have made the decision, you must decide what the schedule will look like. Is it going to be a wall chart or something that can be put inside a student's notebook? Is it photocopied and passed out or written on the chalkboard? Does color coding help? Do you want to include the entire day or have a separate morning and afternoon schedule? Does the visual schedule have to move with the student from room to room? Does it remain on the wall? Once a format or framework is created, decide how the students can participate in putting it together. Presenting students with a range of choices provides them with opportunities to be active participants in the choice-making process and to gain increased control over their lives. Choice-making also enhances the concept of cause and effect. Choices can vary. They can be simple, such as what to have for lunch, or more complex, such as deciding whether to do work in study hall or at home. For some students, choice-making may require training. If a student never has an opportunity to make a choice, he will learn helplessness and become dependent on others. The student who is denied opportunities to make choices feels a loss of control over her life. Behavior problems can increase if a student is not given some choices regarding daily activities. Choice-making opportunities should be available to the student throughout the day. They should be incorporated within the daily schedule. Choice-making needs to be at the appropriate level for each student. One type of choice-making involves a within-choice activity, such as choosing materials for an activity. Another type of choice is between several activities, such as using the computer or listening to music during free time. Choosing a partner for an activity is another type of choice. Allowing students to choose where they will be for an activity, such as at the table or on the beanbag, is also a choice. Some choice-making can be centered around when an activity takes place, such as when to take a break. In some instances, a refusal can be a choice, such as whether to have a snack or not. Finally, a choice can be offered to indicate whether to continue or stop a task. For example, students may choose between more and finished. The use of labels and boundary indicators can assist in organizing students' educational programs. Establishing specific settings for different activities increases the student's ability to associate expectations with certain activity areas. For example, quiet mouths on the listening rug or using smocks at the art table. Assign a name and visual label to activity areas throughout the classroom. These may include the circle time corner, the work table, the finished box, and the lineup wall. The most important idea here is to teach students to make use of the visual organizational strategies in their environment to help them function in the most appropriate and independent way possible. We live in a world that is overflowing with visual signals. The way we as educators physically set up and organize our classroom is vital to the success of students who have difficulty understanding and organizing their environments. Having students identify the various labels in their environment is only part of the process. Without the ability to grasp meaning and carry out a functional task, the skill of recognizing labels is meaningless. We need to train students to make use of the visual information around them. Begin by labeling a student's personal belongings and space. Identify for the student where to hang his coat, which desk is his, and which lunchbox belongs to him. Label furniture and classroom equipment with a visual representation to indicate where items belong on a shelf, where finished work should be placed, and where materials are kept. This will strengthen the student's ability to transition from one activity to another. Often students with autism and related pervasive developmental disorders learn how to complete parts of a task, yet lack the ability to complete the entire task or to follow a sequence of steps independently. Task organizers provide a task analysis or breakdown of the steps required to complete a specific activity. By adding structure, task organizers can facilitate the accomplishment of any task that requires various steps to complete for students who need prompts to be more independent. Task organizers aid in providing a systematic, consistent, and well-organized method to teaching the steps of any activity. As such, they present an opportunity for error-free learning to occur, because when students are provided with an intensely structured learning experience, they do not have the opportunity to make mistakes. When using visual tools, students are seeing what the next step is. This creates an experience by which the student is completing the steps of a task without having to guess what to do next. As the student performs the task regularly, many teacher prompts can be reduced because the student gradually learns how to follow the visual cues independently. Task organizers, like other visual support tools, have to be created in a way that best meets the needs of each student. For some activities that involve a group of students, a large chart-type task organizer may be appropriate. Some students may require a smaller format that is movable and can be used in several settings. Students may carry their task organizer inside their notebook to be used at specific times, or it may need to be kept on top of their desk. The intent of utilizing a task organizer is to build the student's independence through successful experiences rather than creating learned dependency. Many students with autism and related pervasive developmental disorders have difficulty understanding how long an activity will last or when they will be asked to stop one task and begin another. Activity completion signals facilitate transition between tasks by indicating that a given task is over. Using a finished pocket or a finished box can signal completion of an activity. For example, when a student finishes a given task, she may remove the icon and place it in the finished pocket, or after completing a sorting activity, the student may place the pieces into the finished box. As with visual schedules, the student's functioning level and needs must be considered when selecting how concrete or abstract a completion signal should be. One example of a natural completion signal may be putting out the designated number of items to be completed in order for the task to be finished. Autism and related pervasive developmental disorders are lifelong disabilities that will require lifelong interventions. When we see students experiencing success and increased independence, it is often due to the strategies and support we have provided for them. Too often we are quick to pull back on their support systems. Remember, students are being successful because we have taught them how to make use of visual tools. So careful consideration must be given to when or if visual supports are to be faded from students' environments.